I thought I had done everything right in my life. I got a good job, paid taxes for 40 years, saved money for my old age, and bought a house. It would seem that what could go wrong? But now I'm sitting in a small rented room, drinking cheap instant coffee and wondering how it happened that I have nothing left. Not a single dollar in my account. No right to own a house. No faith in people. If I had noticed the cracks in the perfect picture of my life earlier, I could have changed everything. But I was blind. The story I'm about to tell you will make you wonder if you really know what's going on in your home. A few years ago, I finally retired. The day I had been looking forward to for so long. My wife Susan set the table, opened the wine, and our friends raised their glasses to a new chapter in life. She smiled, kissed me on the cheek, and repeated that now we would finally have a vacation. Just imagine, Mark, traveling, beaches, time for the two of us, I smiled. I could imagine it. I had worked my whole life to provide us with a quiet retirement. We had a house with no mortgage, decent savings. Everything was under control. But even then, amidst the laughter and toasts, there was something in the air. I couldn't describe it. At the time, I couldn't. The next morning I woke up later than usual. Susan was sitting in the kitchen with the phone in her hand. She hadn't heard me come in, and there was something nervous in her voicing, "Yes, I'll do it. Just not right now." "Yes, I understand." I coughed, and she immediately hung up. "Who is it?" I asked. A friend. She's having problems in her family," she answered too quickly. I didn't bother to ask. It was Susan, the woman I had lived with for 40 years. A few days later, I decided to check my account. I hadn't looked at it for a long time. There was no need. All the expenses were going according to the usual plan. But this time, something was wrong. $5,000 were missing from the joint account. I wasn't worried. Maybe it was taxes or some big purchase. "Honey, what's with the $5,000 withdrawal?" I asked her in the evening. She seemed to freeze for a moment. Then she smiled. "Oh, I donated it to a charity. Ella, you know I support this organization for children." I nodded. Yes, she always said she wanted to help. It would be good to discuss such expenses together, I said quietly. She folded her arms across her chest and sighed. Mark, it's just money. It's not like we're broke." I didn't say anything, because, really, we were fine. The next day, I went to the website of the charity she was talking about. I wanted to make sure that the money had gone to the right place. But there was no payment for that amount. Maybe they haven't updated the information yet, I told myself. But a mechanism started in my head. $5,000 is not a small amount. What if it was a lie? In the following weeks, I started to notice little things. Susan became more nervous whenever I mentioned the money. Her phone was always close by, and she no longer left it unattended. One day I went into her office and found an empty envelope with the logo of a bank. But we didn't have an account with that bank. What did it mean? I decided to start following the finances more closely. The next time we went to a restaurant, I sneaked a peek at her wallet. Inside was a black bank card, which I had never seen before. So far, it was just a suspicion. Small, almost imperceptible cracks in our lives. But I already knew that if I dug deeper, I would find something I didn't want to know. The only question was whether I was ready to find out the truth. Do you know what the worst thing about a lie is? It rarely comes alone. A little lie is just the beginning. It leads to another, and then another, and eventually you don't know what's true and what's fiction. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I thought it was just random inconsistencies. But then I decided to dig deeper, and I couldn't get that black card in Susan's wallet out of my head. One day when she went to meet a friend, I opened her laptop. I knew the password. We had never had any secrets. At least, I thought so. I went to our bank and saw that money was regularly withdrawn from the main account. Every few weeks, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000. I started looking at the transactions over the past year. $30,000. I spent for no one knows what. I felt my mouth go dry. $30,000. That's more than our annual vacation allowance. It's more than I spent on a new car 10 years ago. I leaned back in my chair, trying to find some explanation. Well, maybe it was some kind of investment. Or a loan. But I knew I had never agreed to any risky financial decisions. I started flipping through the documents in her office, and I came across something that made me feel cold. The an envelope from the same company whose logo I had seen last time. I opened it and my heart sank. A letter informing me of a debt, a loan for $50,000, taken from the same bank, in the name of Susan. And I read it 3 times, as if I was trying to change reality with a single glance. My wife, with whom I lived my whole life, took out a huge loan, and she didn't say a word to me. I was waiting for her at home, trying to collect my thoughts. When she came in, I immediately put the envelope in front of her. She looked at the papers, and I saw a muscle in her cheek twitch. It's just a loan. A small one. Small. 50,000 is small. Mark, don't make a tragedy of it. I couldn't believe my ears. You've been hiding debts from me? She sighed and rolled her eyes. I wanted to surprise you. I wanted to update the house. I wanted to renovate it, buy new furniture. I looked at her and realized she was lying. I pulled out my phone and opened the bank statements. Good, then what is this? 50,000 is one thing. But where did the other 30 go? Olivia, her face hardened. Are you following me? I have a right to know what's happening with our money. Susan remained silent. Then she abruptly stood up and went into the bedroom. I remained sitting on the couch, not knowing what to do next. That night I couldn't sleep for a long time. I looked at the ceiling and tried to understand, what else is she hiding? If she could take on that kind of debt without my knowledge, what else was being hidden from me? I began to realize that this story was just beginning. When one lie is revealed, it is rarely the last. I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, and that it would only get worse. I always thought I knew who I was living with. 40 years of marriage, joint holidays, plans, dinners at the same table. How can you not know the person you share your life with? But now everything I knew about my wife started to fall apart. 50,000 in debt, 30,000 that disappeared into the unknown. I decided that I would not sit idly by any longer. The next morning I did what I probably should have done a long time ago. I made an appointment at the bank. When I got there and said my name, the manager looked at me with a strange expression on his face. Mr. Mark, he said, opening the system. You're probably here to update your personal account. I flinched. And I'm sorry, what account? He tilted his head, as if he wasn't sure if he understood me correctly. Your personal account. We have it on record that you have a separate deposit account here. I slowly sank into the chair, but a personal account. But I've never had a separate account in this bank. Or can you show me the information? The manager nodded and brought up the data on the screen. Naming Mark Johnson. Account opened 5 years ago. Monthly deposits range from $2,000 to $10,000. I stared at the numbers, feeling my hands tremble. Who deposited money into this account? The manager turned the page. Here are the deposits. Here. They came mostly from another account. In the name of Susan Johnson. My head throbbed. Susan was transferring money from our joint account to an account in my name. But I didn't know anything about it. And I tried to find the logic. Why would Susan set up an account in my name and transfer money to it? If she was hiding something, why did she leave a trail? I said. I want to see the last year's statements. The manager printed out a list of transactions. There was something strange here. Half of the money went into the account, and almost immediately was withdrawn in cash. I walked out of the bank clutching these papers and felt like my legs were not listening to me. I had only 2 options. Either my wife was secretly saving money for some kind of surprise, or she was leading a double life. I decided that I would not ask Susan again. She wouldn't tell me the truth. So I made an appointment with a lawyer I knew. When I showed him the documents, he looked at them for a long time and then looked up. Mark, do you realize could be?" I was silent. "It looks like your wife was either preparing a financial exit, or what?" My voice was hoarse. "Or laundering money." I laughed, nervously, raggedly. "Susan, laundering money." But the more I thought about it, the less it seemed like a joke. The money came and went. She was lying to me about the loan, and there was some mysterious person she was calling at night. I sat in the car and looked at my phone. Alun and I could have just called her and demanded an explanation. But something told me that I was not ready to hear an answer yet. So I decided to do something different. I would follow her. This story was no longer a simple financial problem. I felt I was on the verge of something much bigger, and perhaps much more frightening. There are things we can forgive, and there are things that shatter everything. I didn't know what I was going to find, but I already felt that I would not like it. That night I waited until Susan said she had to meet a friend. Only this time I didn't stay home. I took my old car, the one she had always considered useless junk, and followed. I expected her to go to a restaurant, or maybe to someone's house, but she turned in a completely different direction. She went to the city center, to an area I wouldn't set foot in after dark. I stopped at a distance and turned off my headlights. An eye in front of her was a small but luxurious salon. Not a hair salon, not a store. It was a club with dim lights and a security guard at the entrance. He let her in without even asking for her ID. My wife knew the place, and it knew her. I decided to find out. I waited for a few minutes and then came closer. The window was tinted, but I could see enough through the gap between the curtains. Tables, people in expensive suits. Chips for betting. A roulette wheel. I felt dizzy. I remembered telling her decades ago that I hated gambling, that it was a way for fools to lose money. And here she was, at the table, throwing cards on the black velvet and laughing. She looked too confident, too calm, like a person who knows what she's doing. I couldn't watch anymore. I turned around and drove home, trying not to smash the steering wheel in anger. I sat in the dark living room, waiting for her. But when the door opened, I didn't bother to pull it open. "How long has this been going on?" She was frozen in place. "What? Don't pretend." "How long have you been gambling?" Silence. Then she abruptly took off her coat and threw it on the chair. It's not what you think." I raised my eyebrows. "Really? Because I think you're going to lose our money." She crossed her arms. "I win more than I lose." I laughed. "Then why a bit or dry?" "Really? Then why are we 50,000 in debt?" "Because I needed to win back." She shouted. I felt it hit me. There it was. The words I had been dreading. Susan was an addict. I no longer saw the woman I had spent my entire life with. I saw someone else, and that someone could have destroyed us. I had always thought that the worst thing that could happen in a marriage was infidelity. But I was wrong. On Awa, there are worse things that leave you on the street with an empty wallet and a question. How could I not have seen this coming? After I found out about the casino, I couldn't keep quiet anymore. We were yelling at each other until 3 in the morning. She yelled that it was just a game. I yelled that we were bankrupt. And then she said something that silenced me. "Oh, we have more money, Mark." I looked at her. "What money?" She looked away. 20,000. I couldn't believe my ears. 20,000. Where? She didn't say anything. And then I realized, "Is this the money you've been secretly saving?" She nodded. For a second, I was relieved. We had money. We could pay off some of our debts. Maybe even sell the house and move to something smaller, but at least we wouldn't be on the street. But then I looked at more closely, and I realized something was wrong. "Show me the bill," I said. She pressed her lips together. "Why? Show me." She pulled out her phone, logged into the bank's app, and almost instantly she turned pale. I snatched the phone from her. Balance 0. I sat down on the couch, feeling a wave of nausea wash over me. "How?" I couldn't finish. She sat down too, clenching her hands into fists. I wanted to take it all back. She whispered. "You lost everything." I shouted. She did not answer. But her face spoke for itself. I got up and walked around the room. An empty account. Debts, and our pension, which was supposed to be our secure old age, had disappeared in the form of casino bets. I took a deep breath. "Susan, do you realize we're bankrupt?" She was silent. "We've lost everything." She looked up. "And," she said the worst part. "That's not all." I froze. "What do you mean?" She took her phone, quickly opened something and handed it to me. I looked at the screen, and I felt dizzy. A loan, another one, for $70,000. I couldn't believe my eyes. "This is what?" She bit her lip. I thought I could win and close everything. I don't remember what I said next. I don't remember smashing the chair on the floor. I don't remember leaving the house and getting into the car. I only remember one thing: I couldn't trust her anymore. And I didn't know if I could forgive her. They say that the worst blows come unexpectedly. But it's not true. Sometimes you already know what is going to destroy you. You stand on the edge, look down, and realize that in another second you will fall into the abyss. That's exactly how I felt that day. The next morning I woke up in my car. All night I just sat there and looked out the windshield, trying to comprehend everything that had happened. An empty account. A debt of $70,000. The casino, the lies, the deception. I looked at my phone. I had dozens of missed calls from Susan. I didn't answer them. I knew that if I went home, I would do or say something I would regret. But I had to go back anyway. I couldn't hide in the car forever. When I got to the house, Susan was sitting in the kitchen. Her eyes were red and her hands were shaking. She raised her head, and for the first time I saw fear in her. "Mark." I walked past her in silence, and if I had to get my things together. The phone rang as I was opening the closet. The number was unfamiliar. I picked up the phone. "Hello? Is this Mr. Johnson?" The voice was cold, businesslike. "Yes, who is this?" We represent the financial company Credit Plus. Your wife took out a loan from us for $30,000. The payment is overdue." I couldn't speak. I just stood there, clutching the phone as the man on the other end continued. "We want to find an amicable solution. But if the payment is not made by the end of the week, the case will go to court." I slowly pressed "end call" and stared at the wall. Another debt. Another one she hadn't told me about. I went back to the kitchen. Susan was still sitting there, silently staring at her cup of coffee. I threw the phone on the table. "Did you take out another loan?" She didn't answer. "Another one, Susan?" She hunched over like a beaten dog. I didn't know it would go this far. "You're lying." I slammed the table. She flinched. I could see that she was scared, but I'd have the strength to feel sorry for her anymore. I grabbed the keys from the cabinet. "I'm leaving." She stood up abruptly. "Where?" "To the lawyer's office." She rushed to me. She grabbed my arm. "Mark, wait. Give me a chance to fix this." I looked into her eyes, and then I realized that I could no longer trust her. I jerked my hand away. "It's too late." And I walked out, slamming the door. That was the moment when my world collapsed, and I lost everything: money, future, trust. And it seems my wife too. They say that love is stronger than anything, but this is a lie. Love can withstand hardship, illness, even betrayal. But when the money disappears, it starts to fall apart like a house of cards. I always thought that Susan and I were together to the end, but now I wasn't so sure. I was sitting in the office of Mr. Richardson, our family lawyer. I had come here many times before to make a will, to draw up documents. But this time I came because of a divorce. The lawyer took off his glasses and rubbed the bridge of his nose. I stared at the table in front of me. She lost everything we had. She's also gone into debt. But you've been together for decades. I took a deep breath. We have? But now I don't even know who she is. When I got home, Susan was waiting for me, her eyes puffy, her hair disheveled. She was holding something I didn't expect. "Look at this, Mark," she whispered. I didn't want to. I didn't want to go back to those memories. But she put the album in front of me and turned the page. We are in the first photo, young, in love, standing outside our first house. We are on vacation. We are at our daughter's wedding. I looked at these photos and tried to remember how I felt at the time. Was this love real? Or was it just an illusion? A mark I didn't do it on purpose. Her voice trembled. I meant well, and I thought I'd win and we'd have a better life together. I slowly looked up. If you really thought about us, why didn't you tell me the truth? She bit her lip. I was afraid. I laughed, bitterly. Afraid. Of what? That I would hate you. She didn't say anything. I stood up and looked at her. I filed for divorce. She looked up sharply. A what? It's over, Susan. Her eyes filled with tears. A mark, no. Please give me a chance to make things right. I shook my head. It's too late. I still loved her. But love couldn't bring back the money I'd lost. Love could not erase the debts. Love could not make me trust her again. I knew that if I stayed in a year or two she would do something similar again. Because love does not save you if there is no trust. And now we had none. I was standing on the threshold of our house. Or rather, our former home. The realtor nodded, looking at the documents. The sale is confirmed. You have to vacate the premises in 3 days. I nodded. Susan wasn't around. She'd left to visit her sister a week ago. I walked through the empty rooms. They had once been filled with laughter, quarrels, life. Now there is only emptiness. Her old sweater remained in the bedroom. I picked it up, and I realized this is the last thing I have left of my former life. I rented a small apartment. It wasn't luxurious, but it was enough. I started working as a security guard in a supermarket. It was useless to count on pension payments. Almost everything went into debt. It was not what I had imagined for my golden years. But I knew the worst was over. I sometimes dream about the past. Susan, our house, our plans. But every time I wake up, I remind myself of the main thing: love without trust is worthless. Sometimes, to save yourself, you have to leave something that can no longer be fixed. Maybe someday I will meet someone new. Maybe Susan will fix her life. But this is no longer my story. This story is over. And only time will tell what happens next. If you liked this story, please subscribe. Because there are many more stories like this in life that are worth telling.